Hey friends, it's Kelly. Thanks for joining me. I am back with a new layout for the cut shop, and today I am going to be using the On the Road cut file. I do have a Cricut Design Space tutorial for this video, and I am going to be using the Design Space 3.0 beta that is available to the public. I do plan on recording a more in-depth tutorial on this new software later on in the week and hopefully have it up by this weekend. But for today, I'm just going to go through my normal process and showing you how I use the cut files in Design Space. And I'll kind of talk you through it as we're going along. But like I said, I'll have something more in-depth later on this week. As you can see, I've inserted a shape onto the design screen and resized it and positioned it over the cut file image. I grabbed that shape from the Insert Shapes tab, which is still located on the left-hand side of the screen. Holding down the Shift key while selecting the cut file and that rectangle shape, I went over and hit the Slice button, which is still located on the right-hand side of the screen, but it's all the way down at the bottom of that panel. Now I'm going to use the contour feature, and that is still located on the right-hand side also, but it is at the very bottom of the screen. And what I want to do with this image is I want to remove all of the shapes except for the heart. The contour feature is much easier to use in Design Space 3.0. As you can see, it pops up a new window and you're able to see the images much clearer. You can either select the image that you're wanting to hide on the actual cut file image, or you can choose from the different images on the right-hand side panel. I selected all of the images and then went back and clicked on the heart because that was the only image that I was wanting from that cut file. Now I'm going to repeat the same steps for that second image that I have on the design screen. I'm going to go ahead and select Hide All because I just want that solid image. Next, I'm going to go over and drag the heart over to the solid US map image that I have on the design screen, and I want to bring that heart to the front. You can no longer right click to change things on the design screen in Design Space 3.0. So what I had to do was go over to Arrange, clicked on Arrange, and then went down to Bring to Front to bring the heart to the front of the USA map image. I positioned the heart on the US image approximately where I live. I am going to be scrapbooking a layout about our home, so I wanted the heart to represent where we live in the US. So to slice that heart out of the US image, I just held down the Shift key, selected the heart and the US image, and then went over and clicked on the Slice button on the bottom right-hand side of the screen. Now I'm going to need two of these images because I actually am going to draw one on a piece of white cardstock, and then I'm going to cut the second image from a piece of pattern paper. There is no longer a copy and paste option in Design Space 3.0, but there is a duplicate option on the top right hand side. It's the third icon over on the very top. So that will copy and paste a new image for you. The image that I am going to cut, it just needs to be a solid image. So I went back and used the contour feature to hide the heart because I don't need to cut the heart out of the image that I am going to be cutting on the pattern paper. I went over and I changed the US image that has the heart to right, and I just clicked on the image on the layers panel on the right hand side. That will pop open a new window, and then you can select whether or not you want to cut, score, or write. And I just changed it to write, and I will use one of my Cricut pens to draw that on white cardstock. When you're ready to send your images to the cutting mat, all you have to do is go over and click on the green Make It button on the very top right hand side of the screen. Now, one thing that I'm a little unsure of with this new Cricut Design Space 3.0 is you can't see the entire cutting mat when you're trying to position your image on the cutting mat to make sure that it's going to cut your paper properly. And that screen that just popped up, you can ignore that. I didn't have my Cricut connected to my computer when I was recording this tutorial. Now, the workaround for this is if you go over to the Edit Mat button on the right hand side of the screen, when you click on that, it'll bring you back to the screen with the large cutting mat. Then you can move the cut file image up and down, and you can see it moving up and down on that miniature cutting mat on the right hand side of the screen. This way you can see exactly where it's going to be positioned before you load your paper into the Cricut, so you know it's going to cut your paper exactly where you want. And this may be something that Cricut is working on as they continue to develop this 3.0 software. Now for this layout, I did quite a bit of work off camera. This is the image that I drew on the white cardstock using one of my Cricut pens. And I just went around with some blue embroidery floss and did some string art, just connecting different holes that I had pierced in the paper using my paper piercer. I did cut out the other US image on that pattern paper from the Pink Fresh Studio Dream On collection. and I am going to layer these two pieces together. So I'm just going to use a little bit of liquid adhesive around that US image and then just adhere it directly onto that white cardstock. Now, once that was adhered down, I wanted to create a little bit more of a defined edge around that US image. So I just used my paper piercer again, poked holes in the pattern paper, and then used the same colored embroidery floss and just hand stitched around the edge of that US image. The photos that I'm using today are two photos of my home, and it's actually the same picture that I printed twice using my Instax sheer printer. So they're two small Polaroid shaped photos. Now I'm starting to bring in lots of different pieces from the PinkFresh Studio Dream On collection. I have some die cut pieces and I also have some chipboard pieces. I was really fortunate and won this entire collection through a giveaway that PinkFresh was having on Instagram. So they mailed me the entire collection. I was so excited to use it, and it was actually the inspiration for this entire layout. As you can see, the pattern paper and a lot of the embellishments have little houses on them, so I thought this would be the perfect collection to use to document a picture of our home. And this is actually the first scrapbook page that I have made of our home, and I'm surprised that it's taken me this long. Andy and I moved into this house right after we got married, so we've lived here almost 12 years. This is the house that we brought our son home from the hospital, and it's just been a part of our married life the entire time that we've been married. We are very happy here and we love our house. So I am so happy that I finally took a little time to get this documented. Now, getting things to stick to that embroidery floss was a little bit of a challenge. I'm using liquid adhesive, but even with the liquid adhesive, things still wanted to shift and slide around. So I end up adding adhesive a few more times during this whole process just to make sure that everything was going to be secure and stay in place. I'm still adding some more odds and ends to the layout, just trying to add some more pops of color, making sure that everything is kind of spread evenly across the page. I don't want a certain color to be too concentrated in one area. So I'm making sure that that orange color is spread around. I'm also going to bring in some yellow and then make sure that I have even distribution of that pink color also. Now, I thought I would use the stamp from this collection to type out just a little bit of journaling. This is a stamp that has little rectangular boxes, and I thought that that would be a great place to type our name, established, and then the year that we moved in. So I get all that typed out using my We Are Memory Keepers typecast typewriter, and I take a little time to fussy cut it out. And I'm going to try to find a place to position it on the layout. Now, I'm going to tell you, I really do try to move it around in quite a few spots, trying to find some place to kind of tuck it in, and it doesn't end up making it onto the layout, and I'm okay with that. I didn't think this layout needed a lot of journaling, and I'm okay that this layout actually doesn't have any journaling in the end. Now, that orange ephemera piece says Love Lives Here, and I thought that was the perfect amount of journaling, and I'm actually going to consider that my title for this layout because love does live here. This is where my family is, and we love each other, and this is where we spend time together. So I thought that was the perfect amount of journaling, and all this layout really needed to capture the feeling that I have when I see these photos. So when I was trying to figure out where to place that stamped image, I decided that I did need something to the right of the bottom photo. So I added that circle ephemera piece, and then I'm going to add a circle leatherette sticker and just layer those on top of each other and adhere them down. And then I am going to grab a heart from that same leatherette sticker sheet and add it to the layout also. So I decided to be brave and add some black splatters to the layout. I feel like that is always a risk because sometimes I love it and sometimes I hate it. And I do end up loving it on this layout. I think that I added just a little something extra and I'm really happy with how it turned out. I think that with splatters, less is always more. So I'm going to bring the layout closer to the screen so you can see it a little more in detail. Now, one thing that I forgot to mention in the Cricut Design Space tutorial is the new Cricut Design Space 3.0 is a completely different URL than the current Cricut Design Space 2.0. So I'll make sure to link to that in the description box below. I have brought in the still shots of the layout, and I will also make sure to link to the cut shop in the description box below so you can head over and check out all of the cut files. I will be back again soon with a new layout and new process video. As always, thank you so much for watching.